So until we have our first caller, I'm going to go ahead and do the stream read. The energies today are really one step away from perfect balance. Yesterday was the day of equal light and equal darkness, and today's one step away from equal light and equal darkness. And what we're learning today is who's our friends and who's not our friends, who has the same heart as us and who doesn't. It's the separation of the boys from the girls and the big boys from the little boys, the big girls from the little girls. For those that are ready to directly invest in this time, effort, energy, and place in history, you will have allies, you will have support. People will naturally flock together. That's the energy of the stream right now. It's helping us understand why we look for people that have similar vibrations to us, why we want this as part of us. The second part of the stream energy is obvious, the life, death, and rebirths of the people within us, the shamans within us, the healers within us, the politicians or lawyers within us, or mathematicians or atheists within us. Whatever it is, it goes through a process of life, death, and rebirth. The stream today is asking you, what process have you gone through in the last 3 months? What process have you gone through? Beginning of June, for those that were in the Truther movement, many were very much disappointed that nothing happened on the 21st. And then you were disappointed when nothing happened with what was going on with the president being replaced, and Ron Paul was going to be the new president, and Boner was going to be the vice president. Again, proved to be nothing. So there was disappointment after disappointment. So many people went through that process of life, death, and rebirth. And here we are again, the passing of the neutral energies of the solstice. Well, there's also another way to look at it, a way that's not 3D, a way that's a representation of your dream time, a way that's a representation of the flow of great energy that's here, now, in the present. This energy is expanding. It helps us understand the places of power that we stand on. It helps us know the energy inside the earth. Okay? What is the energy inside the earth? Okay? It's our ideas. It's our total concept. It is us in manifestation. Okay? When one manifests, they take it to a whole new level because they have respect for everybody's sacred space. They allow room for everyone else to have their thoughts, opinions, and ideas, and still allow room for others to grow their own thoughts, opinions, and ideas. What a wonderful world that could be if everybody was allowed to express their thought, but not enforce their thought as single opinion, as single fact, because that's where we're at right now. There is a 1% that's in charge that is telling the 99% how to think, how to feel, how to love, how to consume, how to not consume, how to have a government, how to not have a government, how to take the government away and put a new one back in. They are telling us everything. And that is not a sacred space. That is a disrespected space. Disrespected space. That's where we're at right now. We have been disrespected as a species. And the energies of the stream are saying, how do we rectify that without destroying our species, without destroying our culture, without bringing us into the concept of destruction? We all must exercise that newfound ability of tolerance when there is intolerance in the world. We all must learn to exercise that newfound ability of seeking truth when we're not given truth. We all must exercise that ability to know truth when truth is being told to us, and to know when bullshit is being told to us. We all must recognize that we have an internal sensor that tells us truth, untruth, truth, untruth. Does everything distill down to truth and untruth? At this point in time, it does. Because each person has an individual truth and untruth. Each individual person has a soul purpose and a soul contract to come from different places. The vast majority of people did not originate here on Earth. They came here. They were drawn here. They had cycles here. So here it is. What are these abilities to recognize truth and untruth? Who has a bullshit detector? Absolutely everyone does. Why? Because we're expressing ourselves. We're learning how to put feathers in our caps and how to make goals. Okay? What does that all mean with abilities? Well, when you set out to learn a skill, you make a goal that I'm going to learn that skill and I'm going to do the best that I can do with it. And here we are. What are you doing with your skills? What exactly are you doing as part of this process of co-creation and relation to Earth? Well, we're here in a time now I chose to be a radio station host. Okay, the host before me, Clay, he chose to be a radio host and a magazine printer for 45 years. You know, for him, that's a lifetime of standing up and telling his truth. Right? The host that comes after me, he has a lifetime of standing up in truth. So here we are. What is our purpose now in this very day that we are at now? Okay? Sometimes you have to ask yourself that because it changes that much. The day of neutral balance is about asking yourself. The second day of beyond neutral balance is about asking yourself again and making sure, is the next lever, the next layer, the next thing that could trigger me, will it reveal my knowledge? Will it help me understand why my memories are in a certain way? Will I learn the passion that it takes to co-create everything that I need? Or is the passion already within you? Strange concept. Is the passion already within you? Does the passion come from someone else? Is it a part of this world? Does it come from our higher selves? Who knows? A great mystery, because that's what it's all about. All right, that's the first energies I'm reading off the stream. All right, so next I'm going to read the stream of the animal medicine that's coming in and out right now. There's been a layer of aggressive energy over our world, stemming from Obama going and visiting Israel. What does that really mean? It just means the players are on a new chessboard, and that new chessboard is something different. Loyalty of the dog, mana of the dolphin, stamina of the moose. That is the energy that is here in the now. The dog is loyal. The dog is something that can sense danger from far away. The dog knows the emotion that goes over each and every person's idea. The dog can look at you cross-eyed and know your shadow. The dolphin breathes deep, dives deep under the water, goes deep, finding spirit herring, grits his herring, dives up, pops out the top of the water, sun upon his skin, back into the water. Repeating this over and over again. Up, down, deep down the dolphin goes down into the universal depths of the ocean, speaking to the Earth Mother, through clicks and clacks and sounds of the echolocator inside. The dog and the dolphin are man's best friends. The dolphin is the dog of the sea, loyalty to man, but it is also the shaman of the sea, and the dog is the shaman of the land. When dog and dolphin unite in this world, great things will be done. Friend Moose comes to the forefront, with his great rack reminding us of his power. The moose is that of the stamina, reminding us for every journey you must endure, for every battle you must take time to regain your strength, because it is truly the stamina to endure. The moose is telling the dog and the dolphin to be loyal and constantly give love in return. You must have love within yourself. Love within yourself to love others, because that is the nature of stamina, is the concept of stamina. And the dolphin knows this well, and the dog knows this well. The giveaway here. This is my stream giveaway. This is my Patlich ceremony saying that there is knowledge for all of those who choose to have it, that knowledge is from the friend spider and that of the chrysalis of the butterfly that's come many times before us. All patterns are within nature if you should choose to observe them. All concepts are there if you should choose to accept them. Accept them. Accept and co-create. That is the next level of the shaman within. When you take something in, you make it part of yourself, and then you create it. Religions are based on that concept. The religion of the self allows you to go in any direction of your choice. The religion of others allows you to go in the direction of others. So there's a big difference. The great eagle, it speaks here today. It asks us to look high above the situation that we're in. It asks you to use the eyes of the eagle, who can focus in on a single mouse running through the great grass fields. It's saying, can you see with the eagle's eyes? Can you understand that eagle flies close to grandfather's sun, warming his feathers, keeping him in perfect temperature as he flies at the highness of the cold skies? And as he dives down to find friend else, his claws grabbing it, completing the cycle of food chain here on Earth. The eagle is here to remind us that the concept of the higher beings can immediately come into us like a eagle striking a mouse, but not in that food chain concept. The eagle will come into our lives Like a flash of lightning, we are filled with the great energy of the great grandfather sun. The energy of the grandfather sun within us. That is the concept of this eagle. And the same concept of the turtle, yet it comes from the water and that of our Earth Mother. Grandfather Sky and Earth Mother came into divine union, allowing our creation and co-creation as spirit beings, ever evolving into action and purification. Learning how to call to the rains, we as the people made songs, made drums, connected to our Earth Mother's heart. Quickly went through the forest, avoiding all of the predators that were here in the food chain, until finally man learned its records through the second ice age and the third ice age and the fourth ice age. As man began to expand and explore on the spine of Earth Mother, we learned of the transmuting power of spirit religions, spirit concepts, and from that, friend spider wove the first alphabets. From those first alphabets, snake and spider made a medicine truce. Snake said it will train part of humanity, and spider said it will train part of humanity. And in the end, humanity, the two parts of humanity will have to train each other how to get along, how to be a part of each other, how to recognize each person's patterns as patterns of the whole. Patterns of the whole.
Good, actually. So here's this. See this?
Oh, wow.
This is Labradorite.
Labradorite.
You can see all the... Donna and her husband just sent this to me from Australia. It actually looks like a butterfly when you're looking at it like that.
Yeah.
And when you look at it this, you can see the whole world. And then...
Beautiful. It even comes up really good in the image, so it must be amazing
in person. Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing in person. Yeah.
You know what I was going to ask you about? Because you're into all the stones and stuff like that. Like, opal. What is opal?
A balancing stone. It's also a manifestation and creation stone. But when you understand opal as a balancing stone, meaning it has all the frequencies of opalescent reflection in it, so all light is trapped in opal. Even though opal was grown in a space there where there is no light, within the compression itself creates its own light frequency that generates the hue of the opal. So you have a variety of opals. So there are a variety of opals. So opal will create a frequency of its own frequency of light deep underground when it goes under pressure to create its stone, which is different than the type of light, the electrical light that's created when you're having compressed crystals in granite or other areas. You actually have different kinds of photonic versus electromagnetic light that's created. Opals trap more of the hyper frequency of photonic light, which creates the refraction of all the colors that you see in it. So opal, whether it's a super refined piece or a big slab, they all do the same thing. But when you have a refined piece, it becomes an opal light or an opal person with a very specific light refraction process.
Yeah, like, I mean, I'd never heard you talk about it, and I was like, opal's actually, there's a place called Cooper Pedy, which is north of, like, my state, towards the centre of Australia, and it's a huge, like, reserve of opals, and it's like, it looks like another universe, because everyone digs underground and stuff like that. There's all these big piles of stuff, but I've seen opal, and it's really amazing stone. So you were showing that other one, and it's like, It reminded me of that. So,
Yeah, what I was showing is Labradite.
yeah.
Yeah. Let me see. Labradite.
Because even in my state, they uncovered a dinosaur. It was one of those ones that was a bit like a brontosaurus, but it had fins, and its actual skeleton changed to a opal. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Like a massive sort of dinosaur bone discovery whose bones got changed to opal.
Yeah. So Labradite, lore of the Inuit people claims Labradite fell from the frozen fire of the Aurora Borealis, an ordinary stone that transformed the extraordinary shimmering into mystical light that separates the waking world from the unseen realms. It is in a very sense a stone of magic, a crystal of shamans, diviners, healers, and those who travel and embrace the universe, seeking knowledge and guidance for self-discovery. It is an excellent for awakening one's own personal awareness. Labradorite is the most powerful protector of the middle current, creating a shielding force throughout the aura and strengthening natural energies from within. It protects against negativity and misfortunes of the world. And it's a feldspar. So, opal. What do they say for opal? I forgot.
Andre, I was sharing with Andrew that in Newfoundland, there are sacred caves that the different tribes there actually protect. And at certain times of the year, they actually go into these caves. And the caves themselves are completely all Labradorite. And you actually go in and do your ceremonies within it. And it's just breathtaking to actually see and experience.
It must be like a hyperlink to the ancestral sort of things then.
Yeah, you could say that. The stories that they've shared with me, and I actually have a piece from one of those caves, and it really is. It's a magic stone. It's a shaman stone. It really is.
Yeah, because you mentioned in that reading it was like part of the Aurora connection, Aurora Borealis. So yeah, ancestral. Very nice.
So here is opal. Opal is the spectral delight that opal is, the eye stone. Like lightning in a rainbow, it flashes its brilliance with even the slightest movement and claims notice by all who witness its phenomenal fire. This is a stone dedicated to the eye, so pleasing to the sight, inspires love and hope, innocence and purity. In the metaphysical world, opal acts as a prism with the aura, bringing a full spectrum of light energy to the system, soothing and clearing the emotional body and boosting the will to live and the joy of one's earthly existence. It kindles optimism, enthusiasm, and creativity and allows you to release any of inhibitions, inspiring love and passion. Opal enhances cosmic consciousness and stimulates flashes of intuition and insight. And it is a protective stone for deep inner work, meditations, and the lower world shamanic journeys. Opal is most known for its ability to bring one's traits and characteristics to the surface for examination and transformation. Just as opal absorbs and reflects light, it picks up thoughts and feelings, desires, buried emotions, amplifying them and returning them to the source. While managing one's negative attributes may prove to be uncomfortable, it allows for the understanding of how destructive these emotions can be and assists in the process of letting them go. Opal also illuminates the positive actions and emotions of the self, enhancing the good and the true, and the fostering of one's highest potential. It is a karmic stone with a reminder that one sends out will return. That which one sends out will return. And then rainbow opal is the rarest of all kinds.
Yeah, red is very sought after as well. I know.
Yeah. That's fire opal. That's different. that's in a different process state.
And there's
there's
black stone and like a white stone base as well.
Yeah, there's fire opal and blue fire opal. There's standard fire opal and then blue fire opal, which is just insane when you actually like see it for the first time.
Yeah. Fascinating.
I was telling Andrew that my favorite type of opal are the pictures that I just posted in here, and some call it the Galaxy Stone, but it's actually called a black opal, believe it or not.
Yeah, there's black opals, yeah.
It's interesting what you say about photonic light, because it looks like from a measuring distance perspective, it looks like a microscope sort of expansion, like zooming in on something much bigger than what the size indicates.
Yep.
Very interesting. Are those opals that you sent me, are they in some museum somewhere, or?
No, they're rare. They're very, very rare. They're super expensive too. So, those size, they're the third one, or the last one, would be about maybe between like $2,000 to $4,000 just for one little one.
Yeah, like that or more, depending on what it's like.
Yeah. It's a black precious opal, and that is for manifestation of one's intention, amplification of emotions, revealing and releasing psychic wounds also. It's incredible for doing psychic surgeries with.
This is something in our museum here.
The one with the egg?
I've just sent it.
Or the one you'd... Okay. Yeah. Isn't that just... like, wow. Aren't they beautiful?
They're amazing.
Yeah, I'll give you an image of that. It's not the best one, but it's that dinosaur.
That's amazing dinosaur.
Oh, wow. There it is.
That's crazy.
Yeah, like imagine getting a tooth of that dinosaur like this.
Yeah. Wow. Leave it to the Aussies to opalize teeth.
You imagine like the scientists that found that, it's like...
I would pray that a scientist didn't find that and a shaman did.
Yeah. Here's another one.
Wow. Wow. That's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, it's just like...
I want it. I want it.
See?
You imagine Sean touching the opalized like dinosaur.
Yes. He'd become the dinosaur. Roar!
Yeah. Have either of you gone through a whole crystal healing like I posted in there?
Yes, I have. I have been a recipient and practitioner just like that. In fact, probably even more stones than that.
Oh, yeah. I just...
Yeah. But yes, very intricate orders like that, yes. They're amazing to do. Amazing.
You, Andre?
No, not myself, no. But I can only...
It's an experience.
Opal is like a very enigmatic sort of material, that's for sure. Here's another one. I think it might be that same one, just different.
I can get it in bulk. Lower quality, if you wanted it. I get it right from a mine.
Wow. You know the stuff you could do with that?
Uh-huh.
I do.
Well, first rule I would break is I'd make cloudbusters out of opal. Whatever Mr. Orgone said about Orgone, we are redefining it. Because he would have never put opal in there. Whatever you would have even thought of trying to use opal as his crystalline source.
Wilhelm Reich.
Ah.
And why would that be?
Because he's a scientist.
No, for you choosing to put opal in instead.
Because we're not using electromagnetic light crystals. Crystals that are under pressure use electromagnetic light. We're using full photonic light. And what is a cloudbuster? It's an antenna system that broadcasts, instead of electromagnetic light, it's broadcasting full photonic light. That's what it's doing. As electromagnetic light builds up around photonic light, you'll have special effects, almost like an aurora borealis in the clouds.
Nice.
Yes. Effervescent clouds. Because what is a cloud? Water vapor.
Yeah.
That's light coming through it.
And a bit of like material to condense the water vapor.
And then ambient light. Yeah. I guess I'll have to call Dusty and tell him to go hit the opal mine.
I planted a seed, hey?
Yeah.
Maybe I'll make the opal cannon. That's what I'm going to call it. The non-competition, non-hierarchical order opal cannon. Wilhelm Reich's, designs were actually meant to be a weapon.
No doubt.
There's even, stuff that makes it look like a cannon. So when you come into the picture, you'll see a kid and then something behind him, and that's his cannon. One of his many designs.
Yeah.
And then here's another one, more refined. And he's putting lots of electromagnetics into that.
Looks like there's a lot of power going into that one.
About 8,000 amps. Yeah, a lot.
We're not in Kansas anymore.
Yeah, that was the era of mad scientists. We will get back to that era where the cowboy arrows of science and spirituality cross over.
Just wondering, how much crazy you can get.
A lot.
Cowboy era of scientists and stuff.
Now it's just all hypothesis and supposition era. No actuality activation.
Okay, area code 509. We have your name and your question, please.
Hello, my name is Sherelle.
How are you?
Fine. And I wanted to share really briefly, and then I have a question, my experience of listening to the last few days of the interviews and Andrew's, what Andrew's been saying. And what I had noticed is yesterday I got a really intense gut ache. And but the other thing I have been feeling over the last maybe 24, maybe 48 hours is I do feel much more grounded. I feel much less drawn into some dramas and very clear about my position, but in a really kind of soft and loving way. So I just wanted to share that. So I have definitely seen maybe parts of myself coming back, just hearing Andrew say that and make that affirmation. I heard it a couple of times. It went deep here. And I also made my contract to Mother Earth, and that felt very powerful this morning to do that. Well, and so my question actually kind of piggybacks on the other ladies, and that is I heard Andrew make a comment to Dale yesterday about imposing our free will onto other people and how the light worker community has a tendency to do that. And I know that I have a lot of family members and soul family that I naturally find myself when I do prayer invocation, when I do the directions, like I make the call for the people, the family, the one people, and then sometimes I'll even make the call for individual people too. And I'm just wondering if Andrew would go over that a little bit more, how if we want to include soul family or biological family, whatever, in some of these prayers and invocation and ceremonies that we do, like what would he recommend would be the best way to do that so we don't impede on other people's free will?
Okay, that's a very, very good question. And to frame the Dale questions for those that didn't hear it yesterday, he was talking about empowering water so that it went downstream, it affected others through the words of the incantation. And that made it a violation of free will. Instead of giving the power to Earth, who can naturally has contracts with everyone and is not going to be violating their sovereignty.
Now, the next caller you'll recognize, Andrew. Hello, Dale. How are you?
Greetings, Chris, Andrew, and Lance. Long time no hear.
Hey, Dale. Sorry, I've been really busy with all these
I know, brother. That's why I left you alone. And I just want to make a statement. I am that I am because this is who I choose to be as I am. And
Absolutely.
The question... Let's just say hypothetically, if I had a pristine water supply and I was to recite aloud at this water supply, the pristine water supply, spiritual contract removals out loud, what effect, if any, would that have to others downstream that consume that water?
You would be violating the sovereignty of those other entities by doing that.
Okay, that's why I called. That's why I've asked. Because, yep. All right, so it's a personal one-on-one level then.
It's a personal one-on-one level because we're at this time of inter-exchanging from the personal one-on-one level into unity consciousness. If we were in unity consciousness, what you just said would be done because you wouldn't be violating the sovereignty of anyone by helping the whole.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something in the light worker industry that they have to come to terms with, violating the sovereignty of others, even if it's in their best interest. The industry.
Okay.
I'm not specifying any individual. The industry, the industry that has issues with consumerism and materialism. The light worker industry. They have to face those consumerism and materialism, or those people that are constantly shopping for the new spiritual experience.
Interesting proposition, Dale, and it was a good thought. But
yeah. Well, this is why I'm learning. You know, this is why I'm here.
Okay.
I'm holding, and what you've said about the no time here in Mount Shasta, holy moly, yeah. Boy, am I practicing it with every breath.
Here's another layer to your question, actually. Another
Yeah.
layer to your actual question is, instead of the intention for it to affect everyone else, your intention is to heal the land.
Yep.
Okay?
Nice.
You've changed that by literally changing the intention so it doesn't affect the sovereignty of anyone. You're always in dominion with the earth. You can heal the land, and then the land can take that energy and not violate the sovereignty of others by having people that are investing purity concepts to it.
So
No, yeah.
then that, if I
Refocus.
put the intention, so if I, would that be allowable for me to do it if I put the intentions of healing the land into it?
Okay, allowable. That is a sacred geometry world that has multiple dualistic meanings behind it. You're at a free, mighty I am self presence that is making a choice to bring intentions and vibration to a soul-based entity that's a planet so you may share in the healing experience. So allow is not
Okay.
the word because it limits your intention. You're doing it
Right.
because the I am present self is in service to the earth. And when you're in that service intention and concept, there is no duality behind your actions.
Words are so incredibly important.
Yep.
Yes, and we've been
Your
so dumbed
intention.
down with it.
We have. Dale, thanks for the call. We've got other
Sure.
callers, and I'll try and get through a few more before we finish, but we'll speak
Thank
to you
you
again.
very much, guys.
And I'm just wondering if Andrew would go over that a little bit more, how if we want to include soul family or biological family, whatever, in some of these prayers and invocation and ceremonies that we do, like what would he recommend would be the best way to do that so we don't impede on other people's free will?
Okay, that's a very, very good question. And to frame the Dale question for those that didn't hear it yesterday, he was talking about empowering water so that it went downstream, it affected others through the words of the incantation. And that made it a violation of free will. Instead of giving the power to Earth, who can naturally has contracts with everyone and is not going to be violating their sovereignty, in the situation of prayers, internal and external, that's a really tough one. You know, when you know people on a spiritual level, they generally have at some level have given you permission to pray and work with them. But it's a personal understanding that some people shamanically can go very deep and do soul retrieval with their prayers. And that can be positive, but it also can be negative and neutral at the same time. There are some people that don't realize how powerful of a prayer person they are, and they can literally do a soul retrieval on a person who's not ready for it. So to answer your question of what do, you ask their spirit guides to be present. You ask their ancestors to be present during that prayer for them, or you just make sure the prayer structure brings the ancestors and the earth in communion with your prayers, so a right and perfect action is followed through by all the mighty I am selves in love and unity.
Okay. Wow, that's beautiful. That is beautiful. Yes, thank you. Okay.
But you might want to. Sorry, Cheryl. I was just going to make the comment. Andrew, would you mind repeating that last statement so that anyone who's taking notes, and there will be people out there, they can write that down because I think it's important.
You ask all of their spirit guides to be present, all of your spirit guides to be present, all of the ancestors of those people to be present, so that there can be communion and union with the earth, so that all right and perfect situations come forth from these prayers. I know I just kind of changed a little bit. Each and every time I get into a flow like that, it's me revealing a little part of my own personal prayer system. And there are times that, you know, not only do I use the spiritual cord of equity because it's a way to speak your sovereign truth, and that sovereign truth isn't violating the sovereign truth of anyone else.
When you when you actually invoke the cord of spiritual equity, do you have to specifically invite, you know, these I'll call them entities, these souls?
The purpose is there has to be something to hold space.
Mm-hmm.
And the term holding space means beings that are coming in unity with the essence of love, compassion, forgiveness, hope, inspiration, and all those other things that aren't there to dominate or control. They're there to hold space for a person to speak their personal, mighty I am self truth. It starts with the ancestor spirits of you, your DNA lineage ancestors, the other soul ancestors who are not incarnated in this world yet, the Mother Earth, the animal spirits, the whales, the spiders. Everything is a part of that when you choose to bring into it. You know, at that point, the occupation of the spiritual court is to hear you. And then you invite in the earth to help you find remedy and resolve in your situation while you're creating the spiritual court of equity. If the spiritual court of equity is to hear your degree of prayers for the earth, all those ancestors become transmission points of all of your prayers, and your prayers get amplified by each and everything present there.
Thank you for that. That
wow.
clears up.
Yeah, no,
It's unity. It's unity consciousness. It's once again understand the framework of unity consciousness. All situations where have negativity are resolved in spiritual courts of equity. That's how unity consciousness works.
Yeah. Oh, well, and I just have one more quick question. You talk about the earth a lot, and I was just reading a lot about the Hopi prophecies, and one of the things that the Hopi children have told Caucasian adults that have passed through, that they're taught not to look at the sky. And is there an action, like if we're standing in the court of equity and we call to Mama Earth to be there with us as our witness and as our mother, what about the Sky Father? I mean, what part would that come in?
Well, that's looking at a culture's individual expression, and each person's individual expression in a spiritual court of equity has no dual meanings behind it. There's no duality there. Your words are understood. So if you're putting together a string of consciousness, sentient beings to be a part of that, the Mother Earth, the Father Sky, all the creepy crawlies, the two-leggeds, the four-leggeds, the six-leggeds, the eight-leggeds, the finned ones, the winged ones, the scaled ones, you're bringing in all of them in union with the spiritual court of equity, so that communion and union has an understanding that they're holding space, so that all truth of all sentience can come to a unity consciousness agreement.
Right.
There are many beings out there in unity consciousness already. It's our graduation timeline that isn't in unity consciousness yet. So when you create the spiritual court of equity, you are bringing unity consciousness to hold space for you. So you and your mighty I am sovereign present self can say, I am whole. I am expressing a need. How can unity consciousness help me find remedy and resolve in my disunity consciousness? By revoking contracts, or by making new contracts, or by stating that you are here and I need to be listened to, and I need people to come and speak with me so I may understand my mistakes or my right understandings.
Right. Make remedy and to get remedy, both. Yep.
Correct.
Yeah, thank you.
Shrill, thank you for that. Lance, did you want to make a comment?
No, I thought that was a very good discussion.
Yeah.
And there's this other thing, is that mutations happen on Earth. That's part of why the Earth is, because it allows that expansion to happen.
On one level, yes.
Yeah.
On the other level, most mutations come from these screwed up incarnation rules.
Mm-hmm.
You have spirits that are like me and you, who plan 1,000 lifetimes ahead of time to break one specific rule, so that in the next lifetime we get to remember a lot more things when we come out of the birth canal.
Right. For some reason, I didn't hear that. Can you say that again in a slightly different way?
Okay. There are spirits who plan their lifetimes 1,000 lifetimes ahead.
Mm-hmm.
And what that is for is so that they can break a specific incarnation rule, so that when they come to the next lifetime, they remember more things instead of coming out a complete slate from the birth canal.
Right. So does that mean, yeah, because my mind went off when you said break the incarnation rule. I was thinking, is that like what Jesus did when he said, okay, kill me, I'll come back, kind of thing. Yeah?
Yes, and it's specific. Example in yours, it was so that you can come through as a very much a ray reader, but on a different scale that's been seen in this society for thousands of years.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Oh.
You're just beginning to scratch the abilities of your ray readings. Ray readings are done on many, many other planets. If there was an alien from Alcyon sitting in front of you, you would be able to give him a ray reading, and he'd understand everything you were telling him, and you wouldn't even need to speak his language. That's how common that is on other planets.
All right. But yeah, that's why you don't find many ray readers on the internet, is it? Right. Because you see, the thing is that when I started this, the reason that I started listening to Rebecca Jernigan's show, I had a bad relationship. I wanted to get away. So I found internet radio talk shows, and then I found myself on Camelot, and then Rebecca's, and then. But I've been looking for somebody to teach me more about the rays, and I found zilch, no one, and I thought that's very strange. How come? This is the key knowledge, the thing that holds everything together. All the different disciplines of astrology and numerology and all these things are concentrated in the understanding of the vibrations that translate to these ray numbers. And it's,
right.
They're just tags. They're just, because people argue about colors, and for right reasons, because there's lots of different frequency octaves of colors that people talk about. People argue about musical notes because you've got 432, 440, all this stuff. So just saying ray 1, ray 2, ray 3 gives you a completely neutral, non-emotional, triggering way of talking about people in a way that prevents people being triggered and not listening anymore.
Right, you're not coloring it with dogma.
That's
it's
right.
Just the ray reading.
No dogma. My karma ran over my dogma. So,
right.
So that's how I got here. So,
you planned by being a ray reader on a grand galactic scale in previous lifetimes. So you did so much good that when you came here to be through a set of crazy incarnation rules, you looked at the incarnation rules and said, I see you, all of your rays, and you just did the lifetime chess move to have all of the experiences that you needed to have, and once you completed them, you're here now with all of those ray skills intact. You may not fully remember all of the lifetimes, but all of the skills are intact from your own planet.
Which is?
Alcyon.
Alcyon. Very interesting. Those people who know me personally will know that I've carried a painting around with me. It's not a painting. It's a picture. So 3 feet by 2 feet. Picture of the Pleiades. I had a motorcycle accident on the Seven Sisters Road. I used the Pleiades as navigation. Whenever I want to go somewhere, I look at where the Pleiades in the sky and I just go towards it. I tell you, it always finds me where I need to go. That's very odd.
Well, that's ironic that you just described it like that, because in your previous lifetimes before you came here, one of the things you knew is you had to be able to guide the galaxy. And that was how you raised your ability to be a ray reader. And you were an astrogator on a ship that was a biosphere that was exploring new galaxies. And you essentially would use your ability to read rays of other planets and stars and solar systems, be them alive or dead, and you could help navigate these biospheres through these completely unknown territories.
Yeah, because if you can tune into the ray frequency, which is it's like a melody. It's like a bunch of notes, a bunch of frequencies. It doesn't have to be a melody, but I suppose it would work out like a telephone number. When you punch in the telephone number, it goes beep boop boop beep 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 boop. Some people can do that actually because it's two notes at the same time. And that if you can find out the frequency of different things, or those ray numbers, you can, literally, because everything has it. It's a part of the nature of everything that it's made of frequencies, because we're in a holographic universe, and we'll talk about that. Yeah, and so you get into different frequencies, and that makes your frequency, and that's how you can tune into something, and that's exactly what a telephone number is.
Yep.
Yeah.
And as I was saying, as you began to master this ray ability in your other lifetimes, in some of these lifetimes you've lived 10, 15,000 years as a ray reader the entire time. Okay? But as a ray reader, you were also exploring other galaxies, other universes, because there was all vibration.
Yeah.
And as you became aware of the battle on Earth, you and another soul group said, all right, let's plan this battle. Well, we know the bad guys are going to do this, and they're going to drip it out to the very end and use everything in their book to screw up the Incarnation rules. What can we do to plan ahead of them, like a massive ninth-dimensional chess master game? That's what I did. That's what you did. That's what Dave at Wolf Spirit Radio did, and a number of the other hosts that are here.
Yeah, it's and that also happened on smaller cycles. So, like 13,000 years ago, we would have met during the last crossover point when it was crossing over down into whichever way it was going from south to north, probably. And that we'd say, okay, we'll meet you there. And some of us had to invent the internet in order for this to happen.
Yep. Because it was hard to connect by correspondence back then.
Yeah. We didn't have emails and mobile phones. So, yeah, we had to invent all of this communication stuff, because that's the only way that I would have found them. Actually, I found it through love. In 20 years ago, I had a girlfriend, and I met her through a band that I was in, which was called the Mystery School. And I met this girlfriend, and she introduced me to Karma Sonam Funsuk, who taught me all about the rays, and who I sometimes play some of his stuff on there. And it was it was all through love that I got to the things.
.570 is the next caller. 570, you're there?
Hello?
Hi, your name and where you're calling from?
My name is Teresa, and I'm calling from the Poconos in Pennsylvania.
The Poconos in Pennsylvania. How can I help today?
I'm not sure if today is a reading show or just for questions, so...
Is this the first time you've listened to the show?
No, I found you about a week ago, and I've listened to as much material as I possibly could since then. So I'm aware of how it works. And
this is a reading show, so I'm keeping you on the line. What I need you to do is tell me about your first 10 minutes of the day, be as specific as possible when you first woke up, and I'm tuning into the infinite dream world that's you and the process you go to become the finite awake you. So give me about 45, 50 seconds of that out loud, and I'll tune into you.
Okay, great. I'll do the best I can because it was really fuzzy this morning. I woke up about 20 minutes late. So I first looked at my phone. I saw it was 6:47 a.m. and I yelled to my son, are you up yet? And he was. So it was, I think I ran down and I started to do laundry first because I had forgotten the night before. So it was kind of a rushed morning. What else did I do? I don't remember dreaming. The only time I dreamt this week is when I turned off my phone, like I heard you say. That was the only time this week that I remember the dream.
Okay. For those people out there that are turning their phone off, make sure you turn off the router to your computer. It's a big broadcaster also. And as soon as you turn your phone off, if you experience a dream right away, there's your confirmation. For those of you that have very weird dreams, it's going to take a while for you to balance without those signals that are there. So just be aware that once you turn off the signals, your body's expecting those signals to be there. And if you're in a high enough energy state, you can have yourself a good dream. All right, for you today, the energies that are coming as the sun rises and falls each day, there's a whole new layer of energies that come forth and help us understand the process that we're going through. And the first layer of energy for you is called the burden basket of life. It's saying that you have been taking on the burdens of others for a little too much of a long time. And it's now that you used your own self-reliant inner willpower to empty the burden basket and to put back in only what is yours. Do you understand what I'm saying by what is only yours instead of taking up the burdens of others?
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
So do you have people that you've been taking burdens off of, enabling?
Yeah, my husband, my whole life, I think since we were 12, you know, I've been so connected to him, and, you know, it's been quite a journey, and my mom as well. Growing up with her, she had multiple personalities, and I was the little caretaker. So it was, I have been definitely taking on that my whole life.
Okay, so this calls for a time where you empty out the burdens of others and you assemble what are your own burdens, and then you begin a spiritual pilgrimage inside yourself. And it may require you to go away from where you live, even if it's for a weekend, even if it's a bed and breakfast 20 miles away. You need to begin this process on your own and not in the energy fields of others. This will be key for you to begin this, because this is how you get back into the unity and wholeness that is you. You know, the type of being you are, you're called a rostrum. And they're similar to Arcturian species, but they are very different. They come into the world as crystalline people. Like literally their bodies are of solid crystal, and yet there's an energetic muscle system that makes the crystalline body move. And they don't usually leave their planet unless they are bonded in some type of consciousness exploration vehicle. Well, several dozen of them will use their bodies to create a lattice structure that consciousness can project into. And then it can project this lattice structured vehicle all over the universe and remote experience different parts of the universe up close. When you decided to come to this world, it's because you had already remote experienced parts of the future of the universe as it was expanding. The universe is ever expanding. When you first migrated into this universe, this free-willed universe, you came from a different kind of free-willed universe. And you had to figure out what this universe was about, and the only way to do it is to make vehicles of consciousness exploration. And you did this for many tens of thousands of years, for a very long time, till you found the very edges of the ever-expanding universe and went around a spiral 3 times. And as you were coming back to the center of the universe, where the dense galaxies are, is where you began to understand that there was a layer of drama that you had completely and totally missed while you were at the very edges of the universe understanding consciousness, and that there were a very younger group of species that needed the aid of the high-powered, high-consciousness species. And this is where you got caught into the drama, just like everybody else in this part of the galaxy. And you came into it knowing fully that you were going to have to deal with some very difficult subjects. You know, everything from the domination and control aspect to living on multiple worlds. You know, generally throughout this whole process from 200,000 years ago to now, you haven't lived one life each lifetime. You've lived multiple lifetimes. In this lifetime, there's not one of you on the planet. There's several dozen of you. You understand what I'm saying? Completely.
I do understand that. I always had this connection to Arcturian, even though I used to think it was crazy and I wanted nothing to do with it, but there was something there that made me keep studying it. And you say there's a similarity there, but a difference, correct?
There is a similarity, but there is a difference, yes. They're closely related because everything is about consciousness exploration and what type of physical skin suit you're going to wear for your consciousness exploration experience. And some people choose to have no physical body, only an energetic expression. The type of Arcturian side species that you were chose a crystalline body. Like your body was made of crystal, and all of the muscle structure was an energetic muscle structure, and that's how you created locomotion to interact with the various matrices here. When you came here to this world, it allowed you to function very differently, so you could have very hyper-focused souls who could accomplish tremendous amounts of things every lifetime. So you would be the star student that showed up at a Buddhist temple out of nowhere. You'd be the star student who walked into, Oxford at age 18, a country bumpkin, and score perfect scores on all the entrance exams. That's the type of life that you think over and over and over again. What's your life been like?
I had a very challenging life. I mean, as a child, I used to have visions, and I even had a vision before an accident that happened that had injured my tailbone, and they all ceased after that point. So I've always felt very different. Even my small son tells me he remembers floating in space before he was born. He told me that as a small toddler. So I really just, it was 2011, towards the end, that I really had been catapulted into an awakening. And it's just been so fast since that point to right now.
Well, I got a question for you. When you were growing up and you met your husband at a young age, did it feel absolutely right at the time, or was there any resistance?
Well, it's really funny how it worked. I had a one-day notice we were moving to a whole new state as a child. And my first day of school, I sat behind my husband. So I met him. He was the very first person I met, and, we've had this connection ever since. And it hasn't always been the easiest one, but I feel just such a connection, even when my mind says go, I can't. So it was very kind of strange how we met and how we've, been together this long. I feel like this person is my soul family, not necessarily my soul mate, but...
Well, I'll tell you, he is soul family. Why did you only have one day notice of moving?
My mom started having all these memories come back of childhood abuse, serious abuse. And that was my mom's way, I guess, of protecting us. And she said, okay, here we go. We're New Jersey Shore. And then all this.
We lost the caller. 570, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you.
Oh, there we go. It's interesting how the calls just dropped right there, isn't it?
Yeah, it sure is, huh?
Yeah. So, when you grew up, why did you leave? Your mother had an awakening to sexual abuse, serious abuse, and she moved you.
Yes.
And the first person you met after you moved was somebody that you are now married to.
Yes.
All right. That's a very interesting set of synchronistic events. I'm actually reading the Akashic record behind your mother and around the abusers. Yes. This was an abuse ring that she was around. And she needed to keep you away because she was also pregnant at that time, too.
Okay.
Did you know that? She was pregnant at that time?
I didn't. And there's a lot of things I don't know. Like, I don't know how my father died. There's a lot of... I just learned synchronicity, and now it's like, wow, my mind's blown looking back on my life. It's just a series of synchronicities that I've just
You're right. It's a series. And this is the Arcturian collective subconsciously functioning through you. And I'm going to let you know, you're going to have to be ready for a lot more synchronistic events coming. Like a lot. One of the things that you need to go on this inner vision quest by yourself. You need to tell the people around you why you're doing it. And if you can't actually tell them why, you have to keep enough of it to yourself and tell someone, because it's going to be a big change for you. You have to realize what are the burdens of others. Okay? What are the burdens of others?
I haven't spoken to my mom in years.
No?
Sorry.
that's fine that you haven't spoke with her, but during your personal spiritual pilgrimage, it's going to be very important that you get sunlight, you get meditation time in. If you can do a fast, it would be very, very beneficial to you purging out all of this negative energy. Just so you know, when women are abused and they have children, no matter how good of a parent they are, they can be the best in the world, but that violence is still inside them if they've never purged it. And on a psychic level, the kids just know, and they do whatever they can do to take that energy away from you. And it's inevitable that it happens, that energy of abuse bleeds over onto the other children, even if there's never any physical harm done by the mother. It's just on an energy level. And that's what you need to get rid of, right, between now and when you choose to do this. Go on the internet and do some research on how to do a fast. Go and get some crystals that can help you go into the dream time. You really want to step up you being the shaman away from your normal life. And then when you return to your normal life, you have to have a plan that you can put into play that makes sure you can get more spiritual time even though you're in your life.
Okay. Wow. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Do you have any other questions?
I'm really at a crossroads, and you certainly have shed an amazing amount of light on how I can go forward. Am I supposed to be healing other people?
The answer is yes, but to heal other people, you have to heal yourself first. You have to heal yourself just enough so you can heal others. And then it's a continuing process of self-healing and healing others. And mastering that skill is absolutely important to be, as a healer, learning a technique. Because once you start healing people, 1 people, 2 people becomes 10, becomes 30, becomes 100. I've treated over 1,000 people in Reiki, and I've had tremendous experiences from them. You could have almost the exact same experience pattern I had with the hot hands, with literally pulling out soul wounds, doing psychic surgery. By the time you're on your 30th person, not only will it be blatantly to every part of your soul that you can do this, but the responsibility comes in to keeping your body pure, clean, and ready to bring the pure focus that each person needs as you, their practitioner, bringing energy healing. So the answer is yes, you're supposed to be a healer, and it's time for you to put yourself in your own enforced way of making sure you're doing things that regenerate you, and you do them for fun and for free. So that the enforcement is just using your discipline of free will to say, I want to be able to experience healing on a bigger scale, and I want to be able to heal as many people as I can. And the prerequisite of that is having a healthy life where you're balancing your spiritual ways and the healings that you're doing. Regularly getting out in nature, regularly having a hobby that can even modify your spiritual talents, becoming a jewelry maker or hemp wrapping necklaces with crystals in them. It'd be very good for you to build things with your hands, do art expressive things, and then begin that process of figuring out what kind of healer you want to be.
Wow, thank you very much. It all makes perfect sense. Thank you.
Did you listen to yesterday's show?
I listened to, with a woman, I listened to the first part before I fell asleep. And then I listened to the replay from the 28th last night.
Okay.
Revolution.
Yeah, if you go to the archives. It was
phenomenal. I related to every caller.
Yeah, this will be the 30th archive. There's a lady in a very, very similar process to you, and I described to her about the re-armoring of spiritual armor. And it would be very beneficial for you to listen to that one and the one before, which you just said you listened to the 28th one. All of those directly apply to you. There are many teachers that come out. Yeah.
Okay.
Any more questions?
Thank you so very much. I'm just drawn to, is there anything that I can say to my husband? He carries around this blackness inside.
Honestly, there's nothing you can say until he wants to. There's nothing you can say until he wants to change. Carrying around blackness, there are ways that you can deal with it, and that starts with changing the energy of your home. And change the energy of your home starts with smudging. Are you familiar with smudging?
I did it for the first time this morning.
Well, next time he's out of the house and everyone's out of the house, close all the windows in the house but one, and put an incense stick in each room or an incense cone in each room, and just let the whole house fill up with smoke. And then you're going to go around the house with a sage bundle or some other type of incense bundle, and you're going to talk out loud to your environment. I want all negative energy in this home removed. I want to return all the energy to a loving, flowing manner. And then you're literally going to go from room to room and force all the energy out the one open window. Okay?
Okay.
So when you're totally done with the process, open the rest of the windows in the house, let the house air out, close the windows, and then walk around the house and feel the house. You may need to do it a second, third, and fourth time to clear out some of the really rooted energies. Many people that carry around darkness are carrying around psychic parasites simply because they're around the television or the computer. And they just become festering grounds for these things.
Yes.
And if your husband would ever let you to put smudge smoke around him, and you can say in your mind that you want all energetic parasites removed from him, they will heed the call if you use your heart space energy behind those mental words.
Okay.
Okay? Well, I've got other callers waiting. I've got to move on.
Okay, thank you so very much, and I'm looking forward to the replay. I love your work, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Your name and where you're calling from?
Hi, my name is Rhett, and I'm calling from Los Angeles.
Hi, your name's Brett?
Rhett.
Rhett. Hey, Rhett, how you doing today?
Right. Good, how are you doing?
Doing good today. How can I help you?
Yeah, I'm concentrating on my spiritual growth, and I feel like I've got some alignment with the Native American influence. I've had some great clairvoyant moments, but I feel like I've also now connected with some healing energy. I wanted to make sure that I'm cleared out myself before I did much with that. And I also wanted to align with my greater purpose.
All right. How did you find out about the show?
I had heard about it through some of the OPPT and collective imagination shows, and then started listening through the weekend and into today.
So you heard me do
pretty
readings
quickly connected. That's
okay,
right.
cool. You've heard me do readings.
A lot of the things you said about the Akashic records have really resonated with me, so I'm trying to understand more and connect with that.
Okay. So you got to understand how I do readings, though. You've listened to a couple of the shows.
That's correct.
What I need you to do is tell me about the first 10 minutes of your life. Be as specific as possible when you first woke up. Give me about 45, 50 seconds out loud, and I'm going to tune into the infinite you that's going into your finite you.
Okay. This morning I woke up and my daughter jumped on our bed and woke me up, and my wife went to get me a bowl of cereal and brought that to bed, which was great. And I started moving about to get my day ready for work, and that's how my day started. I had a dream last night about robbing a bank, which was really bizarre, and that I had successfully robbed one bank and was about to do a second, but was afraid of getting caught.
All right, I've tuned into your energies. And honestly, that dream right there is trying to enforce a different habit pattern in you. You're going through a rebirth phase right now. Now, a little different than the other caller, you finished your armoring patterning a while ago, but this next thing is for you to look back on all the other armoring patterns that you've had in your life so you can begin to plot the type of energies you're going to function with when you go to manifest your next armoring phase. And I say this for specifically because the energies that are coming are very distinct for your soul family. You're a Pleiadian born person on Procyon and then got refugee status to come to Earth during Lemuria. So talking the second rise of Lemuria about 360,000 years ago is when you immigrated here as a physical person. You didn't come here as a soul who passed on, which gives you what specialty immigration status here, which allows you to be what's called a refugee species, which is a new adopted first species of Earth. Earth has a lot of first adopted species, and you're one of those, and you need to reconnect with the immigration status that you came from as a star person, and that's reconnecting to the Earth Mother's energetic grids, learning about the ley lines, learning about the sacred points on Earth. You need to be in a situation where you can align yourself to magnetic north, quite literally instinctually. There's an electromagnetic grid that functions in your crown chakra and in your third eye. And think of this as two compasses. And when you point in the right direction or look in a direction, your psychic compasses align and tell you the energy that's coming from that location. It is similar to using divining rods. Have you ever used divining rods?
I have not used those yet, no.
Well, that would be something very positive for you to get, because you're in this extrasensory stage where you need to open up to the energies that are trying to help you align to your galactic self and your human self. You spent, when you arrived here, it really comes down to you understanding the refugee status of your incarnations on Earth. You came here because a massive amount of the soul family of the outer part of the Pleiades planets just came here one day, and it was very much unexpected. And the reason why is Earth had given a call out for help, though the planet was tremendously hurt. It needed people to come there, and it was offering refugee status for anyone that was invested in the karmic output of the wars that were going on. So your soul is directly related to the karmic resolution phase between different war type scenarios that led to an intergalactic war. I know this is a lot to take in, but that's what you're here for, is to be an ambassador between the two sides in your spiritual concept. That's not for you to become a channel, literally. It's for you to just go into your past lives and remember who you were before. Past life regression would be absolutely perfect for you at this growth phase. It would give you something to chart with, so as you're going to literally upgrade your human design.
Okay, great. And do you have a specific best pass or course of action for that past regression? Well,
there's nothing's an absolute best course, because it's you asserting your free will and understanding that you're going through literally your DNA memory. And your DNA memory is what you're trying to activate. So you need to have positive visualization of your double helix DNA in the color of red, spiraling up all of your chakras and coming out your crown chakra. And then I have a reverse spinning twin double helix of white energy that's going down on the reverse process and then connects to your root chakra. That will complete light body activation. And for anyone out there, they can try that for themselves. When they connect their root chakra to their crown chakra's light body, you literally complete your energy, your part of your soul family contract, and that allows you to function in a higher state of energy as long as you keep empowering that stage. And you'll learn that the more you empower, the more literally psychic you become, the more sensitive you become, the more you're capable of manifesting things in your lifetime. Because the Earth itself is already in the high vibration energy part of the galaxy now. It's the dense part. And you'll be able to connect to that high energy from the galactic part by simply tuning into the Earth grid, getting out there and allowing your natural scent to just guide you through places. Get out there and hike with no destination. Allow that inner sense to align to you. There are all sorts of devices that can help tune that too, from pendulums to dowsing rods to, depending on how creative you want to get.
Oh, great. I did just get a pendulum. That's wonderful.
Okay. Learning that. One of my co-hosts on my Tuesday night show is Jay Perrin. He's a 7-ray reader. You can read the books by Alice Bailey, the colored books, and they're a tremendous psychic upload for people.
Wonderful.
Okay. Do you have any more questions? I've got about 5 minutes left, so you're the last caller here, so you got a full open 5 minutes to ask anything you want.
Well, that's incredible. You mentioned about the red energy and the double helix with the white energy. And is there anything else I can do to help with either opening my crown or my third eye?
Yes. I recommend this to a lot of people. You finished a purity stage, and you need an energizing stage. So what you need is something that's going to modify your root chakra to be able to handle the energies of the white double helix rooting inside it. So what it's going to come to is figuring out how to massage your tailbone deeply, even if you need someone else to do it, as well as learning how to adjust your spine. There's a particular move in yoga that allows you to align the tailbone properly, and it's not too difficult, but very, very good for you to go and practice anything that releases the buttocks muscles, releases the tensions in your calf, especially the sacral nerve ending there. It's very important that you get that back in alignment. And you're going to discover by literally doing that when you go to meditate that you can take in more energy. And you're going to get saturated real fast. Like your first time you do it, you may only have like 2 minutes of visualization before you're overloaded. You have to stop. And then you're going to have to start again. And then what you can do is put a crystal, literally tape a crystal to your tailbone and one to the back of your neck. And I would use double terminated quartz crystals so it allows the energy to go up and down freely. And just tape them so they're pointed up and down. People use medical tape, but they stay there for hours if you just leave them there. Also, when you go to work and stuff, you need 2 small crystals to put in your sock. And what that'll do is the energies are always around you. And when you add crystals to your body, like whenever you walk around, you literally have extra data storage places so that the energies that's coming into you from the galactic can be refined. So it's like a drip, drop effect of that white spiral helix connecting to your root chakra.
That's a great idea. Thank you.
Okay.
You mentioned
something else.
Possible. Yes.
Say that again.
I'm sorry. After you.
I didn't hear what you said before. There was a little interference.
I was saying you had mentioned eBay as a possible place to get crystals and things. Is that usually the best route that you go through?
That's a very cheap route. And there are sellers from China, there are sellers from Taiwan and India. I frequently purchase ones from India. Simply look at their seller rate if they're top rated. Send them a contact message before you purchase a product. They're good people. And if they're top rated sellers, what they're selling is what they're showing you. And you don't need to spend a lot of money. Like you'd spend $200 at the rock shop, you could spend $12 and get just as much as the $200 value.
And is there energetic signatures on things you're getting that way, or?
If you purify their crystals regularly, which is basically washing them with 2 to 3 minutes of cold water and then sitting them out in the sun regularly, they recharge on their own and they can eliminate programming them or negative energy.
I wanted to actually add relative to the 8th color threshold that you sort of introduced around July last year to me, July 16th specifically, but you've said to me personally that you've actually offered that concept many times before.
As early as 2013. Believe it or not, everything that I've said in my first year's worth of the show is all there. It may not be in the same conjugated order, but it's all there.
Yeah.
So I have spoken about the 8th color time, but in the reference of what you're saying, when we had our universal audit of all karma that was on the surface in 2014 and the resolution of that in 2015 and the mass amount of walk-ins that came in, is where the potentiality of the 8th color became a very real factor, because the solar system that has a star and all the planets that are spiraling around it had actually entered another groove of galactic time that functioned in 8 colors of time, not 7. So we have upped the scale of galactic energy that is functioning around us. We have gone from microvolts to macrovolts. And those beings that cannot operate on macrovolts as an 8th color, meaning time is nonlinear in all perceptions. We are omnidirectional frequency experiencing beings. The whole purpose of Earth is to be omnidirectional time frequency perceptive and projective beings who can seed new planets, new DNA life and wisdom, no longer being adhered to a single linear perception of time. Multifunctional photonic beings of light who can have several thousand bodies simultaneously a part of their existence in equal co-creation, non-competition, as a part of the greater experience of the life of that being.
The reason and purpose of me introducing this as a concept now is that I want to get Andrew to actually share something public that he's offered me, because I actually brought him the variables related to it. And that was, I had this sense last year that there was overall, in order for the reality to maintain itself, it actually requires our energy, our life force. So there's harvesting and there's events like terrorism and trauma and individual soul contracts inserted in fine print, stuff like that, which you've offered many times. And all those sort of things contribute to the harvesting, just in a very quick way to get to this point, that allow us to co-create this reality that we're in via the media and propaganda that corral us in a certain path, individually and overall. And then what I felt was, for a time, there was the need for injections of, say, terrorism in regions to lock down the earth, and then harvest the energy to redeploy in other areas where, a suppression might be required and stuff like that. So there was, say, if it's a tank of fuel, there was 90% full, and that 10% extra required to fill the tank would come from events like trauma and stuff like that, the terrorism that I've just sort of expressed. There's some examples. What I felt was there was a point at some time that a threshold was crossed where, say, the petrol tank of this reality was down to 70%, and those instances of trauma that would harvest and supplement the absence of the total would take it back to 80%, but it would never get to the full tank perspective. And I use that tank as a metaphor, as there's a cost to actually maintain the reality. And Andrew, you've used the language disunity-unity reality, and in order to keep it unified, this harvest was required. And what you sort of said to me is there was a relationship to this time in the 8th color being introduced, to the absence of the ability to maintain the reality. And therefore, with this theme of war is being used to actually increase that rate of harvest on one aspect.
Yes.
Do you have anything to add to that?
So the system itself reached a point where it could not harvest the volumes in which it did before and still maintain the adherence to reality. So here's an example. It harvests 20,000 units out of 28,000 potential. It is now can really only harvest 3,000 out of the 28,000 without creating massive changes for itself. And it's reached the point where it actually must use some of its own energy to maintain its infrastructure of control. So it is no longer an unlimited source of fueling the future, because what the system does is create the futures for all those that are giving power to it. So the amount, like 10 years ago, they could plan 200 years of our world's future. Today, they can barely plan a month of the future of the surface beings. That is how much reduction in the harvest there is. On another scale, it's reached this point because harvest itself is the essence of the people on the surface over many generations. So it's like a farm, each acre produces X amount of stuff. They're getting less and less and less that they can get out of each acre because they have not sowed the fields with positive energy. They've reached a point where their system of reduction was too effective. And for them to let go of some of the rules would mean people would wake up right away. So the system itself is stuck in a rock and a hard place of what it can and what it can't do.
Yeah, beautiful. And that's where I've sort of offered that, like we're an open book sort of thing. And if you actually have the appreciation for what we've sort of said there, is that if you actually have the courage to acknowledge that in the past you may have contributed to all this by your emotional states in certain instances when information is being presented to you, don't beat yourself up by that, but just accept that maybe you have actually contributed. But what are you going to do from this point forward? Like, it doesn't matter what another person does, it only matters what you do in yourself. Because if you actually come through all this journey and you've got to this point, you're actually able to hear Andrew and acknowledge his role as a potential what he actually says he is, you actually might be you're likely to be a very powerful being in your region, like I've sort of said, that people I'm sort of finding. And your ability to actually negate what's going on by not being affected by it is a huge thing in itself. And also probably contributing to your ability to actually access you as an eighth color being in itself. You know, there's a relationship there.
Accessing me as an eighth color being is also acknowledging you have already successfully gotten there, and you're trying to go through the the haze of race memory, forgotten race memory, race amnesia, and the Swiss cheese of what might be in potential for you. And it is only your internal dialogue with your higher self that can help define the Swiss cheese of race amnesia.
Absolutely.
The connective pattern things that say to you, what is real?
Yeah. The actual, what you said there is actually pretty good for me. It's like actually allowing yourself to be convinced that you're not a powerful being, you're not a multi-dimensional being, you're not this incarnate being. Like, that's actually the reality playing out on you, and you're accepting it. And when you actually have all the power all the time, and there was no need to become a different being because you already are there. If you accept that you are, then what gets revealed to you? What if you do perceive, you are perceiving, but you're just choosing not to? Yeah, that's a mantle of responsibility. Absolutely. So, I hope that's sort of a, because I like we're talking about the war and the increased rate of war, and what you can actually do is actually, with an appreciation of that, is actually realize the escalation is actually desperation. The increased rate of crazy crap going on in this world is just a byproduct of the desperation of actually being deficient of the resources to actually maintain the illusion.
That's right.
If you step back and not get polarized in your emotion, and you actually see it for what it is, it's like, yes, it's actually a finite path coming to a finite, accelerated end. And
so there are other expressions of,
please,
we'll call it celestial Ouija boarding, where the intention is to connect to a different form of the consciousness of the planet, a much younger or much older version of it. So this is celestial esoterica, where you may have had a collection where you may have gone to 5,000 or 6,000 worlds over, a few hundred years of exploration of the universe, and you've made a series of planetary sigils, and you can become what I call a planetary mailman and delivery service of high frequencies of energies.
I see that, because this is very much similar to the idea of taking artifacts and relics on pilgrimages. There's everything takes an impression. If I meet somebody, if I go somewhere, or if I touch something, each of those will hold my energy. And even psychometrists can read somebody's wristwatch and tell you the personality of somebody. That's quite a basic one, but that's reading the impression that an object was impressed by. So how far does that go?
Very far. So we could use our existing concept of what ley lines are and have some context behind it. The maps that we believe and create ley lines are based off of the cardinal points of our stars, which is astroarchaeology that's very ancient, that's been imprinted to us, based off of where our celestial temples are, the pyramid, Stonehenge, etc., etc. That is also an imprint that isn't our natural ley lines and nexus lines. So there are those that go and communicate to the place that isn't the fake grid. Our consciousness is empowering a currently fake grid or a sacred geometry grid that is based in the exchange of debt between nation states. This is the Babylonian money curse that's keeping this world to a single frequency of time. So you can go to places in the world which don't have lots of consciousness observing it, interacting with the Babylonian money curse, and create these master sigil surfaces on the surface and have an ancestral hollow earth connection come and add to the frequency, which is other beings in extinction who may want to export some of their light off of this world and make a return trip in a light vessel to something else in the mailman's line.
So we can carry these impressions with us. So
Yes.
we might meet so and so and so and so, and they literally teleport through our through conversation on the other side. Yeah.
Yes.
So, for instance, I might, in a past life, have spoken to, let's say Nikola Tesla, and so if I call up that relationship and speak to you, then I can convey Nikola Tesla's energy, and therefore you can tune into him and query his consciousness at any time you like.
Yes.
God, it's like heroes. Okay.
Yes. It's a matter of understanding the signature frequency time of the I am being.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's the time. All right, so we're talking about like a kind of IP address, but we're talking about it's a
light IP. I'll think of it. So you'll use technical, like a light IP address. Yes.
And it's a coordinate in time and space. Go ahead.
It was 1900 to 1933, we'll just call it a static point in time where it was a 4-color time. Anything past that would be a 7-color time, meaning consciousness had been raised enough consciousness was killed off, went through life reviews, and then was born back into the system that it raised the consciousness of beings.
Being when? What the
1900 to 1933. So that would have been a light IP frequency of time. So if you knew 1900 to 1933 was red, brown, and green, okay, that means you would use your remote viewing lenses to observe red, brown, and green mostly, because the majority of the world would be operating in red, brown, and green. Anything after 1933 would have been a 7-color time, and you would have need to use your remote viewing esoteric practices to observe all 7 layers of the human auric frequency to know what is going on in the seen and unseen world of the being you're observing.
So you then have a 7-color coordinate, and it's like almost like a combination lock using color?
Yep, exactly.
Bing! IP. So how many?
So there are we have 2 frequencies of time in our 117, 16 years that we've got going right now. So we go from the 3-color experiencing time to 7-color experiencing time to anything past 2016, the potential of 8-color time. The handful of consciousness explorers creating the new color and giving it colloquial manifestation in the words that the rest of the population will give labels and agendas and protocols to.
Okay, so let me just unpick that very generically phrased, that there's a new color, and is that color, my friends used to call it magenta.
It's a synthesis of consciousness in the seen and the unseen world. It is only observed by the 6 senses, which is all 5 senses combined into consciousness that knows it is a sovereign being in reality. So the sovereignty itself determines how high a frequency this 8 colors can be. So there are some that only experience it in the dream and can't bring it into the other world. There are enough that just get enough of it that they come out of the dream world able to remember, 2-3 hours of the dream or just 5-6 minutes of it. That is representing the actual amount of voltage behind what you took in. Trying to give terminology we can all do. If we call it polarity or charge. You took a charge in that will last for a certain amount of inhuman hours or time frequency. After a while, people will begin to experience more of the eighth color time, not just in their dream world, but in deja vu moments and other moments as what I call global dream time awakening, where there is a sense of communion among people. We all look and kind of have this deja vu moment to each other for a microsecond. And that is, but we're both the side of the planet that's facing the sun and the side of the planet that's not facing the sun, the light and the dark, where our dream world synthesize with the real world, creating the eighth color in physicality.
Wow. So I believe that this is really starting to manifest right now, it's really hitting the ground like this week kind of thing, isn't it, Andrew?
Yes.
Because
I'm
really feeling the veil. I'm really feeling the veil of not feeling things anymore. It's like it's like the veil has lifted and nobody's noticed.
This is what I said on July the 16th. I said today is day 1, page 1 of the book of make sure you have your popcorn out because something weird's about to happen. It may be a trilogy, it may be a 1,000-page book, but it is day 1, page 1. It has been written, set in stone. Yes, I believe that we are on a path of a consciousness awakening, and that 2 days ago was one of those game changers that everyone's, trying to really understand what this change in rule means and the potentials of plays that come from it. And then there's beings like us. Well, what do? We outcreate the system now.
So this is the it was that the 16th of the 7th of 16? So again, 777 on a subtle way.
Yep.
An encoded 77 rather than the blatant 777, which something else happened that day. But there was another harmonic that day as well. Do you remember the 7th? 7th of July.
The 7th of July?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do.
It seemed to be a rather intense version of what we're talking about. It's like a big bloop that it all started to kick off.
That's when I was doing lots of ritual and ceremony on the lead up to that, because I had a series of things go on in my life that I just had to, mentally take care of, business take care of, spiritually take care of, because there was just this assault on all levels to get stuff done.
Yeah.
That had been going on for weeks.
Yeah, it was like
and I began
getting
to
tidy.
notice it get tidy, and then I'm like, something's happening here. And on the 7th, I'm like in my ritual, and I'm doing all my stuff and in the flow, and I was wowing my own self. And it was like I had contracted myself to have that self-testing experience. And then on the 16th, it was all right. It's on like Donkey Kong.
Or whack-a-mole. But it was quite you're right. I felt, and it's really funny because I had to tidy my house and organize my house and get everything, in order by that day. It felt like. And then everything's gone to hell since then. And it's time, I can tidy up again tomorrow, it's like, whew. But there's these 7 to 10 day periods of intense fantasy, and then there's about 3 or 4 days of oh, what the crap just happened? Oh my God, here's another one. It's just and then we go for another one. Oh, here we go. But we're getting good at riding the wave, I think.
I call those spikes in consciousness. Where the earth itself goes through what I call a yawning phase, where it's beginning to expand more of its consciousness to those that are ready to pay attention to and work with it, and take the abundance energy as an offering and physically do something with it, whether it's thinking, creating, artwork, music, etc., whatever it is, it's giving you this abundant energy. And these spikes in consciousness, are affecting the variety of people in awakened and unawakened states to find their true potentials, to find what motivation and inspiration means, to let go of the system of domination and control and out-create in front of you with the power of love. I mean, hell, the power of one song to transit one generation to another. We are one love song away from the year 2016 having a potential of creating a love frequency in 2027 that crosses the generations that have yet to been created yet.
Well, exactly. And this is what I'm feeling, that almost everything that we've been talking about for the last few years, everything that I've been learning for the last 30, 40 years, everything that happened since my bike crash and wake me up and get me to here, everything is preparing for this week. To me, this is the time of the crossing. And there's probably some astronomical things that are going on at the same time. What do you think, Andrew?
I agree, because our ridiculous American corporate political system is showing the worst of the worst of the worst, trying to stop people from paying attention to what's going around them so that they follow the party line. And as above, so below, that it is so disastrous for them now because their corruption has gone so far that people are walking away in droves.
Yeah.
Turning off the television and turning on things like Wolf Spirit Radio or my show or your show or somebody else's, doesn't matter who it is, and they're looking for an alternate source of entertainment that isn't ultimately disempowering for them.
Exactly. Something that actually builds people up instead of knocks people down. This is the whole thing. It's just like Roman gladiators, like watching people hack each other to bits. It's just like sick.
And we can out-create that.
Well, this is what, we are creating this. This is what we're doing right now, isn't it? We're right creating a series of spaces where the possibility for a better future can allow itself to form without being hacked to pieces, or polluted in ways that are debasing to the divinity of all Lyran descendants, of everybody. But to see, everybody's source connection gives them an equal right in this place.